Can you enable something if you're too dumb to know what enable means? That's the central question of this clip we're about to play with Ben Howe, who is from RedState, and he is a never Trumper. And Tomi Lahren, who I got to be honest, I haven't really heard of. Apparently, she's Glenn Beck's answer to Megyn Kelly, Matt told me. Sad. Total mess. I'm not on the Megyn Kelly train. I don't want to ever forget that this is a woman who was freaked out about her kids thinking that Santa might not be white. She built her whole career, like everybody else at Fox, race baiting, conspiracy theories, far-right nonsense. But Megyn Kelly is obviously a very intelligent person and quite capable of adjusting, knows how to do an interview. Tomi Lahren, not so much. So she and Ben Howe are going to talk about the alt-right. Again, Ben Howe is a never Trumper. And Tomi Lahren, in spite of working for Glenn Beck, who is literally having a mental breakdown because of Donald Trump, is not a never Trumper. She's making Glenn Beck a cuck. And here she is talking with Ben Howe about whether or not she enables the alt-right. I think she's confused by a number of aspects of this conversation.
To me, when it comes to the millions of people who came out to vote for the first time, a lot of those people, as far as I can tell, are not folks that I'm comfortable being in the Republican Party. So, we had the most primary voters for any candidate in primary history. The most
total cuck.
Most votes ever in a primary for Donald Trump. So much of what I've interacted with, what I've seen, and I'm not speaking as somebody who's just been on Twitter here. I've gone and I've talked to people in public. I've been working on a documentary where we've actually gone out and spoken to people at the rallies. And I'm really concerned not only with the way Donald Trump has channeled what used to be conservative policies to appeal to this alt-right group, but I'm concerned that that's going to be the mainstay of conservatism in the years to come, especially if he wins. If he loses, I think it's going to be a struggle, and we're going to have to fight elements that are within our party now that helped raise him up. And I think that, if I'm spitting them in the face, I'm happy to. I want to spit in their face.
Well, then here's the way I see it. Those folks that you're talking about, this alt-right movement, I think that's fringe at best. I don't think that that's the majority of Donald Trump's supporters, and to advance that it is almost as bad as what Hillary did in calling us deplorables. Because I've had a very different...
I'm sorry. Donald Trump's campaign is co-managed by the editor, the publisher of the Pravda of the alt-right Breitbart. Donald Trump himself, as many people pointed out, is a Reddit thread come to life, and his Twitter army is filled with bigots. And some of his most prominent non-direct surrogates include people like David Duke. I don't know that that's quite just a little afterthought. But anyway.
Experience when I've been out talking to people, and unlikely people as well. Many times people will come up to me and they'll say, you know what, hey, I'm a deplorable too. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I have kids that go to school, I have my sons and daughters being deployed overseas, I'm a law enforcement officer, I have family in law enforcement, that I have family that works in the coal industry, I have family that are union members, and they come up to me and they say, you know what, I am a Trump supporter for those reasons. And you know what, I will be fair. They come up to me and they say, my goodness, I wish he would shut his mouth. And sometimes I agree with them very much. But there are a lot of Americans out there that don't fit this fringe alt-right description, and I'm personally offended because would you consider me a part of the alt-right for the things that I say?
I would consider you an enabler of the alt-right.
I would consider,
and look, I'm not speaking as somebody who didn't do that. I spent years, and I wrote about it, I spent years pushing hyper-partisan politics. And what I learned from pushing hyper-partisan politics for years is what you do is create a class of people who are outraged. And sometimes that outrage can do good things, but sometimes it does destructive things. And I think that right now we are reaping the rewards of years of hyper-partisan politics. And
that's fascinating because you have someone who is sort of at that intersection of, I'm sure Ben Howe is in terms of actual objective reality, a very far right, very extremist guy in terms of his politics. But he was willing to capitalize on crazy people for years. And then what happens? That's Sam's image all the time, right? Frankenstein eventually takes over. Tomi Lahren is not sophisticated enough to see that process. So she just thinks, instead of coming up and a cop comes up to her and says, I'm a Trump supporter, and instead of thinking to herself, maybe all of those stories about rampant police violence and abuse of racial minorities, maybe I need to rethink them if this guy's enthusiastically endorsing a clown fascist for president and watches my show. She doesn't have that level of thought process. Bizarrely, her insane boss does. So there you have it. It's such a point of devolution that people who I'm sure oppose the rights of gay and lesbian people, don't want women to have access to basic health services, I'm certain have no concern for the defining crises of our time in terms of global warming and inequality, think that we should maybe invade Iraq again, for all I know, in terms of their sophistication, in terms of looking at the world. They, though, can't quite keep up with the devolution point that we're at now.
To be fair, though, Tomi Lahren she's not ready for prime time. And
That's true.
It's a symptom of Glenn Beck's failing business that she's even there in the first place.
No, she needed a little bit more seasoning. And she's not bad. Like, she knows how to do a segment. She does good camera work. She's articulate enough. But I think, they needed to season her a little bit more. And
some experience. As
Jim
McAlevey said, you need some experience.
You need some experience.
It's not inherent intelligence, it's experience.
Right.
Tomi.
Even when it's definitely not inherent intelligence.
Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Subscribe.